All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So this is our final direct sourcing decoded webinar of the year. And that being the case, so the topic for today is taking a look at some of the trends that we've started to see emerge over the back half of 2024 and what we think are going to be the biggest trends that we see in the talent acquisition space going into 2025. We'll start with some quick introductions for any of those who don't know us already. My name is Anne Llewellyn. I'm the Director of Customer Success here at TalentNet. Pass it over to Matt.
Thanks, Ann. Hey, everybody. My name is Matt Redling. I am a customer success executive here at TalentNet. Over to you, Sathi.
Thanks, Matt. Hey, everyone. My name is Sati Gampat, and I'm an account executive here at TalentNet. Thanks so much for joining our webinar today. Back to you, Anne.
Thank you. All right. So just some quick general housekeeping before we dive in. So if you have a question at any point throughout the session today, please drop it in the Q&A box. We've left some time at the end to go through any questions that we get. And if we're not able to address your questions live on the webinar today, we will follow up with you directly after the event to answer them. We're going to be having a few polls throughout the session, so you'll see those pop up at a few different points. Just some things kind of related to the topics that we're talking about today that we're curious about getting some of your thoughts and input on. We're also going to be recording the session today, and we will circulate that recording out to all attendees after the event. So if there's anyone else on your team that wasn't able to attend, or if you want to check back and rewatch any part of it today, you'll be able to do so. All right, so the format for today is, well, I guess the topic, again, as I mentioned before, is trends that we're seeing and kind of the biggest trends that we're seeing in the hiring, in the talent acquisition space in 2025. So for the format today, we're going to be taking a look at each of these in detail and talking about some of the micro trends that fall within them as well. We're going to be passing back between Matt and Satya and myself to talk through these in detail. So first one is the optimizing the candidate experience. We're definitely seeing a shift to more of a skills-based hiring approach rather than a more traditional experience-based hiring approach. We're seeing a move towards total talent solutions in one platform, so kind of a unified approach to hiring across all different lines of business. Again, advanced AI tools for better hiring. This one has been a trend for a while, but we continue to see more and more involvement from AI in the hiring and recruitment process. And then as well, so data privacy and compliance essentials. All right, so let's dive into the first one here. So what we see is a growing emphasis on candidate experience. So the first micro trend within this is a streamlined application process. So we're really seeing that multi-step processes, lengthy forms, redundant questions really are causing frustration and can ultimately deter high quality applicants. Candidates more and more are really expecting quick, easy application processes, mobile-friendly application processes. They want to apply in minutes or less, have information pulled from their LinkedIn profiles or their resumes directly. They don't want to have to upload multiple documents and then go and, enter information. So these kind of long multi-step forms are really becoming obsolete. So candidates, again, really value this to be fast, easy, something that feels modern and not have any unnecessary hurdles in the process. So the TalentNet platform, for example, we make it really easy for talent community members. It's just one click to apply once they're a member of the community. So again, we're really seeing that continue to be more prevalent in this space. The next one here, so personalization in communication and engagement. What we're seeing is that personal touches really matter more than ever. Candidates want to receive, they want to feel like they're more than just a resume in a pile of resumes. So tailored messages, Specific role insights. Customization makes the experience feel more relevant and engaging. So things like using variables in messages and templates can help give this feeling, and you can still, send those messages at a mass scale, but again, that it would be addressed to them personally and it would have that feeling. Again, they want to feel like they matter. It gives them a better sense of fit. It increases their confidence in the role as well. And this has a big tie to engagement throughout the hiring process. If candidates are feeling like they have a personal connection with a company or with a recruiter, they're more likely to stay engaged in that hiring process rather than leave for one that is giving them a better experience. Transparent and consistent communication is another one here. Candidates really expect and want to and expect to know where they stand throughout the hiring process. So silence from recruiters or their applications going into a black hole is a major detractor from a positive experience. Candidates want to receive updates at every stage, whether they're sent directly or automated, but they want to know where they stand. So giving candidates a clear timeline, updating them regularly, really is essential for maintaining a positive impression, building trust with yourself if you're a recruiter, or with your organization, if it's your company's brand, and just reducing frustration in the process. So again, the TalentNet platform, we've kind of addressed this, we have an application status tracker. So even if, recruiters aren't able to send out personal updates at every step, candidates are still able to see where they fall within the application process. The next one here, so agility and efficiency in hiring decisions. So a streamlined process that minimizes waiting time is highly valued. And I know this is not always the easiest thing to control, but we definitely see that candidates are attracted to companies that really respect their time, especially when it comes to interview rounds. So fewer interview rounds, clear decisions, fast follow-ups really can make a difference, especially in competitive fields. Some companies that are not adapting to this trend, unfortunately, are seeing a lot of their high quality talent is falling off in the process and going with organizations that, again, follow this trend and value their time and, again, are agile with their decision making. We also see that there's a preference for direct engagement with companies really emerging. And I think this is especially the case with younger generations. They value transparency, they value direct communication, and sometimes not having that can make them a little bit or skeptical, I guess, of the hiring process. So engaging directly with companies, it allows them to feel like they're getting a genuine sense of the organization, helps them feel like they're building a personal relationship rather than going through a gatekeeper. Because really for candidates, they view the hiring process as a preview of the company's overall culture. So a company that handles its hiring process directly or follow some of these trends that we've been talking about can really be perceived as more invested in its people and more transparent about its values and its mission. So again, this level of involvement and care at all points throughout the process can signal to candidates that the company values them, values personal relationships with their employees or their contractors, and again is committed to them from the very beginning. The last one here, which I'm only going to touch on briefly, this is a micro trend within the topic of candidate engagement, but this is actually one of our larger trends as well that Matt is going to talk to in a bit more detail shortly, but skills-based evaluations. So candidates are responding very positively to project-based or role-specific or skill-specific assessments when it comes to jobs. They feel like it allows them to showcase their relevant skills and really be seen for what they can do and what their skills are, rather than, let's say they didn't have all of the required years of experience or something. They're able to more so show their strength in this type of model. It also really can help companies make decisions or have data around fit and also potential for internal growth opportunities when candidates are evaluated in this way. So as I mentioned, I'm going to now pass it over to Matt, and he's going to talk in a bit more detail about this concept.
Thanks, So obviously, one of the main trends that we've been discussing with our clients and partners over the course of this year has been this concept of skills-based hiring, um, and how that kind of differs from a traditional experience-based strategy. Some of the key differences that we've been talking about and hearing from our partners is, of course, experience-based hiring looks at past job tenure and roles, while the skills-based hiring it focuses on evaluation of specific abilities and competencies as well. From a flexibility standpoint, skills-based hiring can be more inclusive and it allows candidates from diverse backgrounds to be considered, whereas experience-based hiring may limit the pool for candidates who may not have followed a more traditional career path. And then finally, to expand on Anne's point earlier, experience-based hiring often relies on resumes and job history, but skills-based hiring might use and does benefit from the use of assessments, tests, and other practical demonstrations of candidate skills. And so in talking to some of our clients and partners, I wanted to highlight some of the benefits of each as we kind of talk through this particular trend. So obviously on the skills-based side of things, one of those benefits is going to be the flexibility and adaptability that it brings to your hiring strategy. Obviously, contingent roles often require candidates to hit the ground running, so to speak, and they require minimal training. Using skills-based hiring allows you to focus on specific abilities that are needed for the position, and it helps ensure that candidates can perform the required tasks immediately, regardless of what their previous job history looks like. When focusing on current competencies, especially in fast-paced environments, the relevance of past experience can sometimes drop pretty quickly. And skills-based hiring emphasizes those current competencies and the candidate's ability to adapt and learn, which we believe is crucial for roles that may evolve or require new skills to be developed throughout the tenure of that assignment. Another benefit that we've been talking about quite a bit is the reduction of bias. And so the consensus or the kind of main talking points that we've heard in this area is that by concentrating on skills and competencies, organizations can reduce the biases associated with a more traditional experience-based hiring strategy. These are things like, biases potentially related to age, gender, educational background is one of them. And the shift to a skills-based hiring strategy often leads to a more diverse and inclusive workforce as a result. And then to take that a step further, the skills-based approach is kind of indicating that it's broadening the talent pool that's available for any particular position. And so by eliminating some arbitrary tenure requirements, like 5 years experience in XYZ, for example, you start to open up the pool of potential applicants. And you also start to encourage candidates who might fall short of that 5-year requirement, encourage them to apply, provided that they have the skills necessary to achieve the desired results. So those are all kind of the topics that we're starting to see emerge in our conversations with some of our clients. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's great, but there are also some benefits to the experience-based strategy that we've been using for so long. And I think you're right. Some of those benefits include things like track record for candidates, some industry-specific knowledge, culture fit, and then the predictability and stability that you might be able to ascertain from their resumes and their past experience. I think specifically in the context of direct sourcing, the direct sourcing model addresses a lot of these elements, even though you might be shifting to a skills-based approach. And the reason I say that is because direct sourcing often leverages known talent or former workers. So when you're tapping known talent within your talent community on the shoulder to apply to jobs and provide them opportunities within your organization, you address a lot of these experience-based benefits. And then you can layer the skills-based benefits on top of it and elevate the hiring strategy overall. So those are some of the talking points that we've been discussing with some of our clients. So next, you might be wondering, okay, well, if I'm considering this shift to a skills-based hiring strategy, can my program support this? What is the technology doing to allow this to happen for me quickly? And for those of you who are considering this transition, I have some good news for you. So We know that Talentnet actually has algorithms and AI that helps to parse and index candidate resumes when they apply and when they register to the community. What you might not know is that our matching algorithms function in a similar fashion by indexing and parsing the job descriptions in a similar way. And so when we talk about matching, it's important to remember this. The benefit of this is, of course, that depending on how you write your job description, for example, whether it's a focus on skills or a focus on experience, the matching is going to adapt to return results and matches that are in line with that hiring strategy. So the good news is Talentnet is already designed to enable both strategies, and it will be able to support you through that transition. Now, the other side of this coin that I'd love to mention, I think it ties in really well to some of the points Anne made earlier, is how candidates interact with job descriptions. And so as companies rather are looking to shift to a skills-based hiring strategy, it's important to remember to adapt your job descriptions and ensure that the correct skills are highlighted and are easily picked out by candidates as they're reviewing. So in order to kind of support this, Talent offers the ability to highlight certain skills right at the very top of a job description. And anyone here who might be familiar with what our job postings look like from the candidate's perspective know that this is easily picked up at the very top of the job description. Now, registered candidates or talent community members also get the added benefit of being able to see their match score alongside the job description. This is especially helpful for them because it provides them a level of transparency that they don't usually get when applying to positions in the market. The feedback we've heard is that candidates love this, especially in competitive markets, because they can be more efficient in their search, and then they can then use those match scores as cues as to whether or not their resume needs to be updated. I think a scenario that illustrates this quite well is if you can imagine a community member who has been working on assignment for some period of time and are returning to the market and engaging with your company and your brand. Oftentimes what happens is when they're returning to the market, they will write a resume that broadly applies to the types of roles that they're interested in. And that could vary considerably depending on their particular skill sets. By having these match scores visible to these candidates right on the job description, they're able to get instant cues as to whether or not the current version of their resume is a good fit and is going to highlight the right things to the recruitment team and ultimately the hiring managers. And so if reading a job description, you notice that you have all of these skills, but the match score isn't exactly what you expected, you have that opportunity before applying to make the necessary adjustments to put your best foot forward as you're applying to that position. And so ultimately, this level of transparency leads to a more positive candidate experience. And at the end of the day, it's just a more efficient recruitment cycle as well. So with that, I'll hand back over to Sathi.
Thanks so much, Matt. All right, so we're going to talk about Total Talent today. Total Talent solutions are currently at the forefront for 2025. At Talentnet, we created a revolutionary solution, I think, that really transforms that frustration into simplicity, and we're calling it One Doorway to Talent. So what exactly is One Doorway? Talentnet is, really the first direct sourcing, is the first in the direct sourcing industry to create a total talent solution platform and integration with the leading HRIS system, Workday, which we actually just completed. This essentially aligns, permanent, temporary, and contingent hiring all in one system. This is our total talent solution, utilizing our direct sourcing program that can integrate with the main contingent labor hiring vendor management systems, or VMSs, such as Fieldglass and Beeline, as well as having another technology layer that really integrates with the HRIS system, such as Workday, that essentially creates a unified team that bridges the gap between procurement and HR. So this approach really expands our reach in enabling us to tap into a variety of talent sources much more seamlessly, and we're able to adapt to the changing workforce needs more fluidly. If you look at, the current landscape, for most companies and organizations, they operate with a decentralized platforms, right? They're really disconnected from each other. Each department, working in silos. We have, HR focusing on perm and FTE. We have the MSPs managing vendors for contingent labor hiring, and then other teams working for freelance or gig workers. So usually within these teams, there's no communication, no engagement, no interaction, and ultimately there's really no visibility into who the top talent really is. So this creates such a poor experience when you think about, how the process actually could be. So if you break it down to, the experiences or hiring experiences by personas, we have the hiring manager, we have the recruiter, and then we have the candidate. The hiring manager, he has access or she has access to different platforms with multiple logins and a lot of other things to go through when it comes to vendor management, and just so much on their plate, right? And then we have recruiters where, they're spending hours, scouring the internet to find the top talent, and utilizing, any means necessary and available to them, which is just so much work operationally. Candidates also, it's very tedious for them. They come from all avenues. We have job boards, career websites, referrals, which, then those applications get funneled down to other systems for different hiring needs. So when it comes to candidates, they just want to engage with your company. Hiring today is so much harder to create, marketing campaigns to attract talent to an organization. And with how decentralized all these platforms are right now, it can create confusion and a lot of frustration within the entire candidate experience. They have to go through so many applications just to be seen, and most of them just, end up in a black hole and never to be seen or heard of again. So the result of this, again, is missed opportunities, inefficiency, and a poor experience for basically everyone involved. Right? So here we go. We have, imagine a world where a candidate can explore and select all opportunities that's available to them at a company all in one place. With just a few clicks, they apply seamlessly without, navigating multiple systems, or wondering if anyone has seen their resume. And as for, the curation teams, the process is simplified and unified with a technology that's doing, all the heavy lifting. So we want to talk about here the benefits of a one doorway platform. So candidates benefit from a one-stop shop experience where they can explore all roles available across the company, whether it's permanent, it's temporary, project-based, in one easy to navigate location, right? By eliminating the need for a third party, we make it easier for the candidate to connect directly with us, removing concerns about, legitimacy or mixed messages or from external parties. This unified experience, again, enhances their experience, strengthens our employer brand by creating a professional and more direct, transparent candidate journey. This really ensures the candidates see us as a primary and trusted career partner. And that's all what we want, right? So again, many candidates, whether they're looking for full-time contract, they're motivated by the prospect of just getting their foot in the door, right? They want to be able to start building relationship with your company. Through talent consolidation, we offer a consistent experience that positions us in an employer of choice rather than just clicking and applying. So for both contract and full-time roles, this is making it easier for candidates to navigate, through all those different entry points. And again, having a more holistic talent strategy, this allows for a unified oversight, and essentially enables us to do better in managing all hiring avenues, right? Contract, freelance, permanent, under one cohesive umbrella or strategy that aligns with, your overall business goals. So let's talk about why this would benefit the recruiters and the curation team. From the get-go, at the end of the day, you'll be able to match the right candidate to the roles that they want and that fits their needs, and also have visibility to not only contingent talent, but also FTE and freelance as well. Another key component to the One Doorway or Total Talent platform is the ability to enable internal talent mobility within your organization. A total talent solution supports the growth and development of existing employees, again, offering visibility into internal opportunities that really align with their skills and their career aspirations, right? This is really crucial for the overall health and retention of your workforce. Again, going back to what Anne mentioned earlier, employees are more likely to stay within an organization when they see growth opportunities, which again reduces the risk of losing top talent to competitors. Employees feel valued when their career growth is supported, which encourages continuous learning and skill development. And then next we have ROI, right? What is the main ROI of One Doorway? Having an integrated platform streamlines administrative processes, eliminates duplicate efforts, and allows the company to optimize hiring costs across all talent types. Having all processes in one place, again, enables faster turnaround times, helping hiring managers hire or identify candidates quickly and engage with the right talent without managing multiple systems. Direct sourcing also has also proven to have high conversion rates, right? Acting as an effective doorway to full-time employment for many candidates who start as contractors. So by offering a single entry point, we're able to develop a strong pipeline of talent who are already familiar with your company, right? They're already familiar with the company's culture, and they're ready for full-time opportunities. And then lastly, One Doorway can really improve the data quality with a 360 view of the talent by having a centralized system to track and manage the data. So by consolidating internal employee data, such as skills, experience, certifications, again, career aspirations in one single platform, it ensures that the data is accurate and up to date and current. This will again allow and enhance candidates to increase their match scores and create a better view into the workforce insights, which again will empower more effective planning, driving growth and innovation. So essentially, by solving operational problems, we really are simplifying the hiring process and creating opportunities. And then again, candidates feel seen and valued. Teams can focus on building relationships instead of managing systems. And again, organizations can make data-driven decisions, fuel their growth and efficiency. This is what we feel really is truly redefining what talent acquisition could be and what the future looks like for Telenet and your organization. So with that, I will pass it over to Matt.
Thanks, Sathi. This next trend that we'll be talking about was already prevalent in 2024, and for better or for worse, we don't see that changing in 2025. Naturally, and of course, I'm referring to AI and recruitment. Now, Talent Navigator is Talentnet's proprietary in-app AI assistant. And if you haven't had the chance to see Talent Navigator in action, or you'd like to have a demo and see what it's capable of today, I'd like to encourage anybody on this call to reach out to the Talentnet team, whether it's myself, Sathi, or Anne, to schedule a demo. I'll start off by talking a little bit about what Talent Navigator can do today, because it can do some really cool stuff. We've had the opportunity to get some of our programs hands-on with Talent Navigator, and we've been receiving some really great feedback from those who've had this opportunity. And so in its current state, it can do a lot of powerful things like profile search and comparison, providing insights and summaries based on candidates, jobs, and how they relate to each other. It can generate content automatically for you. You can provide different types of prompts. You can really customize the types of content that you're generating, especially when it comes to candidate engagement strategies and messaging to candidates. You can really give it a personalized and human feel for everyone that you're reaching out to. And then of course there are some workflow automations that are built into it as well. But looking forward to 2025 and I guess beyond, there are going to be some new things that we're going to be adding in terms of capabilities and features to Talent Navigator. Things like anti-bias discrimination detection, sensitive task validation, conversational memory and recall, additional app tasks, searching profile notes, all really important stuff. But what I wanted to talk to you about in particular is the anti-bias and discrimination detection. So I've had the opportunity to see this in action in some of our prototypes and some of our testing, and my biggest takeaway from that experience is it's really refreshing and interesting to see a technology feature be able to push back on its user and highlight what it might be doing wrong or where it might be introducing bias into its reviewer selection process. So we know a lot of our teams, a lot of our companies, our recruiters already have anti-bias training or discrimination training built into their curriculum as a business. But adding this additional layer where the technology is actually forcing you to reevaluate your own subconscious biases and prevent you or provide some additional guardrails to prevent those to entering into your selection process, I think is going to be super powerful in 2025. So that's something I'm super excited to see moving forward. If we were looking a little bit further ahead, we're also starting to look at some additional functionality for Talent Navigator, like voice control. And so voice control is, again, another one of these features that I've personally had the opportunity to test recently. And what I've noticed immediately is how natural it feels to use Talent Navigator via voice control. I've mentioned in previous demos, and those of you who might attended some of these previous webinars on the topic of AI, that our recommendation is to treat Talent Navigator a little bit like it was a person sitting at the desk next to you, and to interact with it like it was a colleague of yours. Now, obviously, it has a lot more knowledge and it has all the data that's available within your talent community, but as a former recruiter myself, just having the ability to speak naturally to Talent Navigator feels very fluid. And then when you couple it with some of our additional improvements like in-app contextual awareness, rich UI, UX responses, you immediately start to appreciate how impactful and powerful a tool like Talent Navigator can be and how it's going to reshape and cause you to reevaluate the entirety of your recruitment process. I'm really excited to get this feature into more of our program's hands and allow them to start to see the possibility that I'm seeing, with my privileged testing access to some of these features. So that's Talent Navigator. Right now, I'd like to maybe pivot a little bit and talk about Talent's AI strategy and roadmap moving forward. And so today, what we've done is we've laid the foundations for a future AI strategy. And this includes, features like the job description optimizer, which many of our programs have been using for some time now. Great feedback from that, as well as it includes Talent Navigator, which we've released in beta and we've been, introducing to a lot of our different programs. Something maybe most of you are not aware of is we actually have architected our AI, foundations to be able to support multi-model large LLMs. And essentially what this means is while we've initially developed our technology to be built on OpenAI's technology and their LLM, we actually have designed it to be able to adapt to the market as it progresses. So as new LLMs start emerging, more powerful ones start coming up in the market, we're going to have the flexibility to flip from one to the other to really bring the best and latest features to our programs. Another aspect of this is as a business, you might have some reservations about one LLM versus another. So you may have some preferences. You may not want to use OpenAI. So we've built this capability to allow our programs to have that level of control so that they can pick and choose what suits their needs best and their preferences best. Coming up, we have some improvements to Talent Navigator, which we've already talked about, but we're also going to be looking to add features that are going to be auto-generating content, things like interview questions and answers to help recruiters, curators screen candidates a little bit better, help them get more prepared and feel prepared for these interviews. We're going to be looking to introduce some auto-generated profile summaries, streamlining the submission process from candidates over to the hiring managers. and a bunch of other auto-generated content. Looking beyond that, we're also going to be looking to introduce some features that are going to support the candidate side of the equation as well. So we're going to be looking at things like, talent community daily digests, a resume optimizer to mirror some of the functionality that we have in our job description optimizer, as well as exploring the idea of an AI assistant for talent pool candidates themselves. So you can see how AI has been, a foundational element here at TalentNet, but we also believe this to be the case across the industry in general. And I don't think recruiting, staffing, and direct sourcing is alone in this. I think all industries are looking at AI very, very closely and seeing how it can be introduced to improve outcomes, regardless of what the industry is. And so with that, I'll hand back over to Anne.
Great, thank you, Matt. All right, that brings us to our final trend for today, that one of the main ones that we're seeing in 2025. So it is data privacy and compliance. Now, I think in general, again, a growing focus on this is a trend that we're seeing. So I'll go through the first one here, these data privacy regulations. So we see them growing, specifically with things like GDPR in Europe or CCPA in California. We're starting to see other regional laws come out as well. But there really is a growing focus on how candidate data is collected, how it's stored, and how it's processed. So a lot of what we're starting to see is that companies are starting to secure explicit consent from candidates when it comes to data collection at the very beginning. So in the case of a direct sourcing model, when it comes to registration of the talent community, they're using that opportunity to make sure that candidates are consenting, opting in to any kind of use of their data that may apply throughout the application process. So right now, this is kind of an advised approach, but again, one of our trend predictions is we're going to really kind of start to see this become mandatory and see regulations or more regulations come out under this area. The next one here is AI and automation in recruiting. So again, Matt was just going through this, but the use of AI in recruitment has been growing, and we think it will continue to grow moving forward. However, it's really important that these AI tools, they need to comply with privacy regulations because, this is candidate data. They can collect or have access to. It's considered PII, which is very sensitive. So again, that compliance piece is really important when it comes to AI's involvement. Again, Matt was talking about this, but there's an increasing concern over AI bias in recruitment. And AI can absolutely identify and help eliminate unconscious bias that recruiters or us humans have. But, AI kind of learns over time from input. So it's really important that that any kind of AI system is in use is undergoing bias audits to make sure that, again, that there doesn't end up being any bias that does grow in any of these AI tools. The next one here is pay transparency or pay and benefits transparency legislations. So here in the US, we've seen a growing number of regions are starting to enact pay transparency laws that require pay rate ranges, and then in some cases benefit information as well to be included on open job postings. Originally it was California and New York were some of the early adopters, but we really see this continue to grow. Every day, every few weeks, it seems like there's new states that are passing these types of laws. And then in other countries, Canada and Europe and the UK, we're also seeing similar legislations in those regions as well. So many organizations, they're choosing to include pay rate ranges on all jobs. This is definitely the most risk-averse option. Because again, some of these legislations are very new and they are changing, and it can be difficult to keep on top of them. So in the TalentNet platform, we've created a dedicated section so that that information can always be included. Again, it's kind of the risk-averse approach to include that information on all postings. And then the last one here, it's the integration of privacy and compliance into employer branding. So we're really seeing that data privacy is increasingly being positioned as a key element of an organization's brand. And We see this a lot as consumers. I think, those recent Apple commercials come to mind for me. They're really trying to establish trust in their consumers, and this is the case in recruitment marketing as well. So organizations that do provide or prioritize, transparency and privacy, we're seeing they're using these principles to attract top talent. And this is especially in the case with or in regions that have more stringent privacy laws. They're using this to really position their brand as trusted, and again really be desirable to some of those highly skilled individuals. All right, so that brings us to the end of our top trends for 2025. So we'll now move into the Q&A portion.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Bird. I'm the marketing director here at TalentNet. You may have saw my chat drop that I did earlier. Again, if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. Please drop them in the Q&A section, and we will try to answer as many questions today as we can. If not, our customer success team will follow up with you guys afterwards. So to kick things off, Matt, I'm going to start with you. One of the questions that we got in, sorry, just give me 2 seconds to locate that question. Is how will we measure the effect of skills-based hiring initiatives moving forward?
That's a great question. I think moving forward, the way that we're going to be looking to measure these effects is one, it's going to have something to do with fulfillment outcomes. So any contingent worker program, the main focus is you're looking to hire, talent for your business. So that's going to be one of the areas that we're going to be keeping a very close eye on. Another way that I think I'm going to be evaluating the success of these strategies is going to be taking a look at things like match percentages and application rates across, populations of roles. I think that's going to be very telling to see, hey, is the shift to skills-based hiring resulting in more accurate matching and ultimately in that increase in talent pools and that increase in engagement that we're all expecting it to bring. Finally, I think, and this may be a difficult one to really evaluate, but I think taking a look and keeping a close eye on things like time to fill is going to be important as well. So based on the volume of applications that we're seeing, if that increases, we should be able to draw a line to an improvement in time to fill as well. So those are the 3 things I think I'm going to be keeping an eye on in 2025.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. And shifting, another question we got in here is for Sathi. How would we be able to differentiate between types of roles candidates are interested in a one doorway model?
That is a really great question. I think in a one doorway model, it's really easy to differentiate between types of roles, right? For the candidate, all they need to do is through the registration process is just select multiple work types along with contract during the registration. So it's another click or another check that they would select. Which would, again, give them visibility into all roles available within the different labor categories, again, all in one place. I think for the curation team, it's even simpler, right? They'll now be able to see or have the ability to view, search, and filter these different worker types, permanent contract, freelance, etc. Again, easily within the platform, which again would essentially streamline their sourcing strategies and efforts. So everything is super simple within our platform.
Awesome. Thanks again. And shifting back to Matt, another question has come in for you. How do I better understand the skills within my community?
Okay, so I think in the topic of like a skills-based hiring shift, I think it's actually a very good step before making any transition, to skills-based hiring. So I think what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to leverage data and reporting on the skills that are within your community. I think it's pretty critical to understand what the makeup of your talent community is. And so leveraging tools like our BI analytics tool, Talent Insights, we'll be able to address a lot of this and allow curation teams and our clients and partners to be able to pull the information needed to kind of put a strategy like that in place. I think you can also lean on your curation team, your curation partner, or even the talent, customer success team to pull some of this information for you and help you analyze and provide some insights. So you can start building a story behind this data as you look to make a transition. Specifically from the talent customer success side of things, this is actually something we do pretty regularly with our programs in the form of our QBRs. So we have revamped our whole QBR process to include a deeper dive into things like candidate skills within the community and how that relates to the business's needs from a job and skills perspective. So I think, to answer your question, to understand, you really need to start with data first, and then leverage some of the subject matter experts within your organization, within your direct sourcing program, to understand what that means for you. An asterisk I'll add to this as well is, as we move into 2025 and to kind of tap onto the topic of AI, I think generative AI tools like Talent Navigator will actually be able to help pull out some insights that you might not have noticed originally and explain them to you in detail. So I would encourage a lot of people to start with the data, and then from there start leveraging tools like a Talent Navigator to uncover some of those hidden insights.
Totally. And I saw some of the feedback we got in from our polls. Reports and insights is definitely something I think you guys were all interested in, and a trend that will definitely apply to a lot of your direct sourcing programs. The question to you, Anne, what are the best practices around avoiding risk when it comes to pay and benefits transparency?
So we've definitely seen a few different approaches. So some of our clients, some organizations are in a position where they can stay on top of all of the new and emerging legislations. So they are choosing to only post those pay and benefits information on job postings that are published in regions where those laws are in place. But if you're asking me about a best practice, I would have to go with the more risk adverse option of choosing to just make it a practice to include that information on all job postings. Again, this is definitely the most risk adverse. There are chances that a law could be passed in a state and you have a job posting that was published the day before and is ultimately not compliant with those new laws. There's also, with remote work and different kinds of nuances that are, not yet set in stone. I would say the best practice in this case is to include that on all postings to make sure that all of your bases are covered. And again, in the TalentNet platform, there is a feature that is a dedicated section for that information to be housed. So any of our curation teams on the line, if you have any questions about that or how to use it or how best to leverage that, please do reach out to us. We're happy to advise.
Thank you, Anne. And as we wrap up our final webinar of 2024 and look ahead to 2025, I'm going to ask each of you for your final tip to share with our audience today as we lead into next year as it relates to the trends that we share today. So let's kick things off with Sathi first.
Sure. Yeah, I think my biggest tip into 2025 as it relates to total talent would be to connect to your HR and TA teams. This would be vital or really important to understand their needs and strategies in regarding fulfillment. Start the discussion surrounding hiring challenges and talent management goals and their operational pain points. I think this will create a really important forum for understanding these existing gaps and establish a shared understanding of how total talent or one doorway can be the solution and bridge those gaps for sure.
Thank you. And passing things over to Anne, what's your final tip for today to share with our audience?
My final tip is on theme with what I was talking about at the beginning is to remember that a candidate's experience with your company, with your brand, it starts at the application process. So really keep that in mind and really keep some of those trends that we were talking about top of mind, because it's really important for that experience to be positive, and it starts then, that application process, hiring process. Candidates see that as a preview of what your organization is and what working there is going to be like. So definitely, it's important to pay attention to those areas.
Thanks, Anne. And I'm going to give Matt the final word for today. Our I guess I was calling the AI king, so we're going to stick with that for the time being. What's your final word as we wrap up our webinar today?
Thanks, Kelly. I'm going to go a little bit off brand. So instead of talking about AI, my tip is actually going to be for anyone who is looking to make a move to a skills-based hiring strategy. So if this is you, if you're looking to make that change, I would encourage you to start taking some time to evaluate the job descriptions that you'll be putting out to the market and make sure that they are in support or they're enabling the skills-based hiring strategy. To piggyback on Sathi's point a little bit earlier, this usually means collaborating with HR and talent acquisition teams within the organization to make sure that there's a unified strategy moving forward, and that full-time roles, freelance type jobs, contingent worker opportunities, all have a clear direction and a clear strategy to them, whether there's overlap or not, is within your decision process as an organization. But that collaboration between those teams, I think, is going to be important because it all ends up being part of the candidate experience as well. And so taking a look at these job descriptions, I think, is going to be a main kind of benefit, or one of the key elements to enabling a skills-based hiring strategy.
Great. And with that, just knowing we have 5 minutes left, and I'm sure we're all running, if you're based on the Eastern Seaboard, running to the lunch hour. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. For those who are celebrating Thanksgiving next week, happy Thanksgiving. And if you have any questions or need any support, as always, reach out to our customer success team. They're always here to help you with whatever you need. So thank you, everyone. And I guess Happy New Year.